Greetings, everyone. Namaste, good evening, and we are all here together for the fourth session of our 10-day IKS certificate course on integrating Indian knowledge systems in academia through NEP 2020, a vision for civilizational reclamation. And I sincerely hope that all of you are benefiting from the sessions that have been conducted so far, because the entire idea of doing this is to bring uh, different experts on IKS on one platform and have faculty members and academics learn from their experience and expertise. And as all of you know, this is the third edition of the 2-week online certificate course on IKS. Before this, NLD has already accomplished two successful editions, one in February this year and the other in June and July. And I am pleased to extend warm welcome to our esteemed resource person for today, Dr. Sandeep Atre, sir. Namaste, sir. Welcome to you, and we are very happy, pleased, honored to have you. And just to give everyone some little bit of context, I got introduced to Sir and his work when we had hosted Dr. Ankur Joshi from Banasthali Vidyapeeth for a book launch session uh, on his recently written book, Shastriya Parenting. And Sandeep sir has also contributed to that book. So it was a privilege to be connected to Dr. Sandeep sir via that session. And that is when the idea that we should have him on NLD's platform came through, and he is in Indore right now. So welcome to you, sir. We are very, very happy to have you. Over the past 3 days, we had sessions with Professor Umesh Arya from Haryana, and his session was focused on Patanjali Yoga Sutra. All of us went through a deeply reflective, meditative exercise wherein we also expressed gratitude. So it was kind of an experiential session in some way. On the second day of the course, we had Dr. Belu Mehra, who's the director of Bharat Shakti, Sri Aurobindo Society from Pondicherry, and she's quite well known for extensive research on Sri Aurobindo's philosophy and life. She oriented all of us on Sri Aurobindo's vision of nation and nationalism. And yesterday we had Sri Vinay Kulkarni, who is the pioneer of many IKS and Dharmic initiatives. But basically, he is an entrepreneur and educator. He spoke on the role of the teacher in this whole landscape and ecosystem. And of course, today, Sandeep sir is going to speak on a very interesting topic, Sarvangir Vikas, which I hopefully correctly understand as all-round holistic development. And his focus is going to be on the Sandipani-Krishna model. And already, I'm sure all of us are curious to know what this model is all about. I will formally introduce Sir. But before that, I would also like to thank the team from Sri Guru Tegh Bahadur Khalsa College, Sri Anandpur Sahib, Punjab, which is our collaborating institution for this particular certificate course. Dr. Jasveer Singh, the principal of the college, Dr. Gurpreet Kaur Madam, who's the in charge of the IKS cell at the college, and Dr. Sharanjit Kaur and Sukhwinder Kaur. So thank you so much. It's indeed our honor to have you as a collaborating institution. Dr. Sandeep sir's introduction, though he has shared his brief introduction, and we would like to know more about his work on social and emotional intelligence through the session and how this is connected with IKS. So, Dr. Sandeep Atre is a counseling psychologist, and he's also an internationally recognized specialist in emotional intelligence training. He's the founder of Socialigence, a venture specializing in development of social and emotional intelligence. So, I think that's a combination of social and emotional intelligence. That's how his venture is Socialigence, through its e-learning course rooted in neuroscience and psychology. He's also the co-founder of CH Edgemakers, a leading coaching group of Central India. He is also the author of 3 books that are related to his domain, that is counseling psychology, emotional intelligence. The first book is Neuropsychological Foundations of Emotional Problems. The second is Observing Non-Verbal Behavior. And I think that's very deeply connected to non-verbal communication. And the third one is A Psychologist Prescribes. His fourth book is on the various aspects of life, and it is named Two Paras of Everyday Wisdom. Moreover, he's also compiled a collection of nazms and ghazals, and that is also published as a book as Baat Jazbaat Ki. He has a career, very impressive one, of over 2.5 decades. He has trained professionals of more than 50 companies and thousands of individuals to sort out and to excel in the intrapersonal and interpersonal space. And today he is going to talk about the Sarvangin Vikas Sandipani-Krishna model. And I am very sure that we will have very useful insights on Indian knowledge systems. And as faculty members and academics, like the past 3 sessions, we will be able to integrate his insights in our classroom space as well. So, welcome once again, sir. Happy to have you, and we look forward to a very meaningful 1 hour, 1.5 hour dialogue that we will have. We can take questions when you finish, we can pause in between. It's completely your call now.
Thank you, Nidhi. I'll just share the presentation. I think it's visible and I am visible too, isn't it?
Uh, yes, sir, you are visible. I hope that's the case with everyone. No problems. And if there are any, I would advise you just exit and rejoin the meeting. That would help. But yeah, it's perfectly visible.
Okay, and slide is also visible.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Great, great, great. So, good evening, everyone. And thank you, Nidhi. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to feature here in this course. As Nidhi said, I think both of us owe our introduction to each other to Dr. Ankur Joshi from Banasthali. And I happen to have played a part, a relatively small part in his journey. And look how dots connect, and I'm here. Ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about Indian knowledge systems, most of us forget that probably one of the most important sources of learning has been lives of our avatars in Hinduism. Now, I deliberately said avatars because in Hinduism, there's a difference between gods and avatars. For instance, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh happen to be gods. Ram and Krishna and many others are avatars of Vishnu. And similarly, there are avatars of Shiv. That's why most of the people probably refer to them as avatars, but start worshipping them as gods because they are intertwined. Who are avatars? Avatar is a template given by the religion to lead life in certain time and space coordinates. That's why you will find that Ram's characterization is different from Krishna's characterization because one comes in Treta, another in Dwapar. Ladies and gentlemen, it is extremely interesting as a psychologist to see people treating avatars and gods same, and because of that, not getting into the depth of the very reason for their existence, their raison d'etre. Today, I talk about an important chapter from the development of one of the greatest avatars in Hinduism, which happens to be none other than that of Krishna. Ladies and gentlemen, we go to a certain phase of this boy's life of Krishna, when he is in his early to mid adolescence. And now, because he is in early to mid adolescence, and adolescence is just the time when a person's most important formative development takes center stage. This is about the same time when most of the personality disorders, most of the mental health issues, most of the emotional issues, they start showing signs, specifically personality disorders. This is the same time when you build your value system that is going to last, if not forever, for longer than usual. So it may not be the last stage of development, but for sure it is a lasting stage of development, or probably a stage of development that has lasting impact. So this boy Krishna, along with his brother Balram and his friend Sudama, they are asked to go for 64 days to a man, Maharshi Sandipani. Nitiji, when I changed the slide, it reflected on the screen?
Yes, sir, it reflected.
Great. So they reach this Maharshi Sandipani. Now, in Hinduism, these designations are extremely interesting. Maharshi, Rajarshi. Of course, someday we'll talk about them. Maharshi is different from Rajarshi. Now, when they go to Maharshi Sandipani, they go through what is typically called Sarvangeen development. Now, when I talk about this, this is what I refer to the sources. They go through development of first Chaudah Vidyain. Now, when we talk about these 14 Vidyain, I'll take you through them one by one, just a brief, 5-10 seconds on each of them, and then probably we'll reach where we want to reach. But I'll take you through a lot of them, because I genuinely think that a picture speaks 1,000 words. So let me refer to pictures. So this is what they go through. First, they go through the study of Rigved. Then they go through the study of Yajurved, then Samved, then Atharvaved, then Yoga Shiksha, then Roop Praroop Shiksha, then Vyakaran, grammar. Then they go through Nirukt, which is etymology. Most of you know what is etymology. You know that in Hindi we typically call them Shabd Yatra, Shabd Ki Vyakhya. Then they go through Jyotish. They go through Dharma Shastra and Kalp. Kalp is science of rituals. That is Anushtan, Prakriyaen. They go through Puran. They go through Mimamsa. Mimamsa means Gehin Chintan. That is analytical introspection. That is, deliberation. It is Gehin Chintan. It is, Samalochana, having a critical thinking capacity. This is Mimamsa. And then they go through Tark, logical reasoning. So they go through these 14. Okay. Now that should be all. Because I think when you go through Samved, Atharvaved, Yajurved, when you go through Mimamsa, you go through Tark, you go through Nirukt, you go through Roop, Praroop, Shiksha. This should be enough, isn't it? No. They also go through what are called 64 Kalaएं, 64 Kalaएं. Now, when you go through them, I would like you to keep looking and keep thinking. First, they go through Geet Gana, that is singing. They go through Vadya Bajana, playing instrumentation. They go through Nritya Karna, that is dance. They go through Chitra Banana, which is sketching as well as painting. They go through Tilak Tayyar Karna, that is preparing the tilak. They go through Farsh Par Bhant Banana, the kind of art. They go through Pushpon Ko Sui Se Krambadh Karna, how to weave flowers into a thread, garland. Vastron Ko Rangna, coloring cloth and clothes. They go through Kratrim Farsh Banana, that is making artificial or fabricated floor. They go through Shayan Rachna, how to make their bed. They go through Jal Par Tarang Banana or Bajana. I think it is self-explanatory, how to play on music on water. Jal Krida Karna, to swim as well as play. रूप बदलने के लिए रंग बदलना, how to create colors if they want to go in hiding or they want to get into a guerrilla warfare. माला गूंथना, पगड़ी बांधना, सही तरह से वस्त्र पहनना. They go through कानों का सजाना, सुगंध बनाना, आभूषण बनाना. They go through भुलावे में डालने वाले जादू करना. They go through सौंदर्य वृद्धि के प्रयोग, the science of aesthetics and beautification. हाथ की सफाई, sleight of hands. भोजन बनाने की कला, cooking. तरल आहार बनाना. सिलाई कढ़ाई. Don't forget, we're talking about an avatar. We're not talking about God. Okay? सिलाई कढ़ाई. हाथ के सूत से आकार बनाना. सुर से मन मोहना. पहेली कहना बूझना. अंताक्षरी में कुशलता. प्रोनाउंसिएशन, सही उच्चारण करना, पुस्तक का वाचन, हाउ टू रीड, काव्य व नाट्य विधाओं का ज्ञान, वाद विवाद करना, डिबेटिंग, बेंत से आसन या खाट बुनना, बर्तनों या गहनों पर मीनाकारी करना, बढ़ई या लकड़ी का काम, कारपेंट्री, घर बनाना, हाउ टू मेक अ हाउस, रत्नों को जांचना, धातुओं को मिलाकर प्रयोग संशोधन करना, एक्सपेरिमेंटेशन, प्रॉब्ली अल्केमी इन अ वे, मणियों में भेद करना, गृहोद्यान, किचन गार्डन और चिकित्सा के पौधे रोपना, भेड़ मुर्गे या शावक लड़ाना, पक्षियों को मनुष्य की बोली सिखाना, मालिश करना, सांकेतिक भाषा बोलना या समझना, गुप्त भाषा में बात करना, रहस्य को गोपनीय तरीके से कहना, छकड़े को सजाना, दैट इज छकड़ा. आई थिंक मोस्ट ऑफ यू हु हैव बीन इन यूपी नो व्हाट इज छकड़ा. शुभ अशुभ शकुन का फल बताना, यंत्र वाहन बनाना, सुनी हुई बात का स्मरण, समपाठ्य करना, बिखरे शब्दों से बात करना, शब्दकोश का ज्ञान, वोकैबुलरी, छंदों का ज्ञान, काव्य को भाव भंगिमा में ढालना, बहुरूपिया बनना, एक कपड़े को भिन्न तरीकों से पहनना, द्युत क्रीड़ाओं की कला, पासे खेलना, पुतलियां बनाना, यू कैन सी द पपेट्स, पशुओं को वश में करना, शस्त्र विद्या, व्यायाम विद्या. Okay, here I stopped sharing the presentation for a while. Let me go back to you, to all of you. So, what have you been looking at and what have you been thinking about? Tell me, कौन सी एक बात, line, point, thought, example आपके दिमाग में आया when we were going through this? Tell me, what did you observe? What did you think about what you observed? Anyone?
Yes, any responses? Either you can put those in the chat box.
No,
or...
Nidhi, no chat box. No chat
Okay,
box.
okay.
Please.
No chat box. Okay.
Anybody can unmute and please say something.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
please unmute.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm Dr. Supriti from Amity Manesar. Sir,
Thank you.
I understood that all these 16 Kala is going to have the very beautiful development of left brain as well as right brain, logic and emotions.
Wow. Left brain orientation and right brain orientation. Ladies and gentlemen, most of you must be already aware of that. Still, I'll just put things into perspective. Supriti ji said that, it has been a concept for long in neuropsychology that left brain, of course, everything is whole brain, but more often than not, left brain is the logical, sequential, linear brain, and right brain is a holistic, non-verbal, and creative brain. So, Roger Sperry happens to be the man who was awarded a Nobel for talking about these things. And I'm glad, Supriti ji, you talked about that. So she is referring to this concept that if you look at, what Krishna went through in terms of education, you would find that it was typically a whole-brained education, whole-brained orientation, in which the development of right brain as well as development of left brain were taken into consideration. Okay, thank you, Supriti ji. That was a very, very good observation. Anyone else, please?
Yes, Sheetal ma'am, Prachi ji, please unmute yourself.
I'm not looking at chat box. I'm probably not very good at reading and speaking at the same time. So you'll have to.
Yeah, that's perfect, sir. They did write in the chat box, but that's why I requested that please unmute and speak. Any of you or anybody else also is most welcome.
Anyone, take your time. I understand.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, Rajni, please
Sir,
go ahead.
in 64 Kalaएं as Avatar, I
Mhm.
think Lord Krishna learned to activate all the mental faculties to use them for lifelong and to help them to develop for the upbringing and growth of others as well. That was the right meaning of education, not only reading, it was learning everyday activity and protecting yourself mentally, emotionally strong to deal with all the challenges of daily life. This is what I'll.
Hi,
Oh, yes,
hi.
Rajni, I think, yeah, I'll come to you, Karunaji. Uh, Rajni, I genuinely appreciate the term that you used. You said activate. Adolescence is probably the time when your mental faculties, as Rajni ji was referring to, they get activated, because that's the time when what you have and what you will use, the the distinction over here gets clear. There's a wonderful concept in neuropsychology, which is use it or lose it. So if you don't use something, then you lose it, for the obvious reason that brain is a sucker for efficiency, and brain always ensures that it uses itself and it uses everything it has got in the best possible manner, because energy is a scarce resource. And that's why if you do not activate certain neuronal connections, some neural connections, then those circuits lay underused, and at some point in time, they just do not get activated. I'll give you an example of this. In one of the experiments, in one of the accidents. Sorry, I was referring to something else. In one of the accidents, because of some problem with one of the eyes, a boy in a very very initial stage uh, was put bandage upon one of the eyes, and it it was at the time when the brain eye development and brain eye coordination connection was still happening, and it was bandage was for long enough for that boy to never be able to see through that eye, though there was nothing wrong with the eye. So now you understand, because at that time the connections were getting built, and because there was no input coming from here, this eye was not really getting used, so the connections did not get built, and because they did not get built, that's why uh, his eye remained, but eyesight never really came. Rajni ji was referring to probably a more advanced concept, which was that probably physical development has already reached its maturation or maturity, but the mental and emotional development is still in the process of getting executed. And that's why adolescence, if you somehow activate, then those faculties come to use.
Hi, hello, sir.
Yes, Karunaji.
Aruna dear, I have one.
Karunaji, your voice is not very clear. Can you please rectify your network? There may be some audio issue at your end.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. I think anyone else, because there were two very important inputs. Rajni ji and
Yes.
Sir, is this the holistic development of a student?
yes, Lakshmi ji. It is typically holistic development, and when I show the next slide, I think what you said will get endorsed, will get reinforced. This is holistic development, for the obvious reason that in Hinduism we call Krishna as Purnavatar. Look at the beauty of this. We call Krishna Purnavatar, so he's complete incarnation. And I think now you realize he did not become complete incarnation by birth. He became complete incarnation or Purnavatar by training. One of my favorite jokes happens to be that once a traveler, a tourist traveler, is passing by a village, and there is an old man sitting outside the village, and this tourist traveler, while passing, looks at the old man and says, "Hey, old man, were any great men born over here?" And old man says, "No, only babies." This is what it is about. There are no great men. Everyone is born baby. And if you see, there are no great men. No, all babies. So he became Purnamta because he was trained differently. Now, if you want to understand how Ram was trained or how Ram was different because of the situation he was in or because of the time-space coordinates that he was in, then of course you can probably refer to one of my videos, one of my podcasts on YouTube. You can find that my take on Ram. But of course, I'll not use this time to talk about Ram because currently our topic is Krishna. So I'm so glad, Lakshmiji, that you said it. Holistic development by training, not by birth. Anyone else want to make it? Want to make any points?
Yes, Karunaji, you were trying to say something.
Yeah, Karunaji.
Karuna Moziji. Okay, I don't see her unmuted.
Okay,
Maybe.
that's fine. Anyone else? Make sure you talk.
Yes,
At the end
yes.
of the day, it is important to talk. Because I'll tell you one thing, all of you. The biggest problem I see with education these days is lack of Karuna, for sure. Yes, Karunaji, please. I think in current education system, we have lack of Karuna, and I think Karuna has been trying to come thrice now in a row. Karunaji, can you hear us? Now you understand it is difficult to, have Karuna. So now
Yes.
coming back. So the problem with education these days is that we are talking about, so much content, while education is not about content. It is about discussion on that content. Specialization is to know more and more about less and less. And for an eon, in India, we were always in for a lot of discussion. Now there are only bullet points. There's so many slides. I mean, of course, I also had so many slides because every one of them had a picture. But I have to make sure that after I show them, we discuss on them. For the obvious reason that the input would be of no use if there will not be any processing. And there's so much of input, out there. But there is so less discussion. So anyone, in Indian, especially Hinduism, when I say Indian, of course, India is not just Hinduism. It is Islam, Sikhism, Christianity, Buddhism, Jainism, all. But when we talk about Hinduism in India, I have always believed that most of us do not realize that there are 5 parts to it. A, Adhyayan, Akalan, Chintan, Manan, and Palan. So the problem with most of us, even in classrooms, is that we do Adhyayan, but after that there is very less Akalan, Chintan, Manan, and Palan. If this is not happening, then of course, input is of no use without processing. So the more I'm talking about it, if you see, the more I'm talking about, there are more threads coming out of it. And this is the purpose of education. Because education is not about 3 hours, reading, writing, and arithmetic. It is about thinking. So anyone else would like to make a point? Anyone?
Yes, anybody would like to come in and share their insights? We
Insights,
have,
their interpretations.
yes.
Anyone?
Like when I was thinking of Chausat Kala, the first thing that came to my mind is something as simple as gardening, or something very basic as apna bistar theek se lagana. That is also a kala. And that led me to think 2 things. That number one, I think in our ancient wisdom, in our ancient knowledge system, nothing was devalued. There was dignity attached to every activity that we as human beings or follower of that particular knowledge system undertook.
So
And the second was that you could be doing something very simple, but if you do it with system, rigor, you follow a particular discipline in doing it, that becomes a kala. Because as a kalakar, you're meant to undergo training, you do practice, riyaz, you improve yourself with time. And so, like, we may think of some of these things as very, very mundane, but ये सब कलाएं ही हैं. And I was very impressed that our ancient rishis, sages, could think of these as kalas and give these activities a very high pedestal. That's what
Very true, very true, Nitiji. In fact, when you say it, it also reminds me of what Rajni ji said. Rajni ji also said the same thing, Nitiji, that there were points which were useful in everyday life, in everyday living. So education was never disconnected from life. It was always imbibed in life. Over here, we need to realize that Gita is probably the only literature related to religion which did not happen in some cave or on some mountain or below some tree. It happened right there at workplace. So there were Kshatriyas around and it all happened right there. And whatever was taught was supposed to be used right away. So just the way we talked about, Krishna as somebody who, rendered Gita. Now over here, I have to help you understand that there is something about Krishna. The same guy, Gita bhi sunayenge, Ras bhi rachayenge, Bansi bhi bajayenge, Gaiya bhi charayenge. Okay. Sudarshan Chakra bhi chalayenge. Aur Sarthi bhi banenge. Now you understand why he can be that Purna Avatar. Because he knows how to sing. He knows how to play flute. He knows how to impress his partner. He knows how to romance. He knows how to explain, express, describe, critically analyze. He knows everything. And that's why if you are educating a boy or a girl to be just a working professional, then education is failing. You are supposed to prepare that boy or girl to also become a good partner or a spouse, also help him or her become a good father or mother, a good teacher, a good musician, a good socially integrated person, a good reader, a good writer, everything. And of course, it cannot be done if you are following a unidimensional approach. And that's what holistic education is about. And I understand we all have pressures of covering syllabi and, preparing questions and taking exams and checking copies. I'm not talking about the intensity or magnitude. I'm talking about just the direction. I'm just talking about the intent. If you show intent for the development of these things, believe it or not, people pick it from there. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me move back to where I was. Now, if you see, you'll find that after those pictures, we are right here. Nidhi, can you see the slide?
Not at the moment. Yeah.
Now you can?
Now we can, sir.
Great. And you can see me as well?
Yes, we can see you.
So now if you see, it is about holistic development, which apart from core skills or what are called hard skills, we are supposed to have emotional development. Now, what is emotional development? Ladies and gentlemen, isn't it ironical that people are taught how devices work? People are taught how markets, economies work. People are taught how organizations work. Said organizations because, of course, no, organ is the word, root word of it. People are taught how bodies work. People are never taught about how emotions work. Just imagine, most of the people are emotionally illiterate. They don't know how to deal with even the slightest of anger that comes inside them. They don't know how to deal with jealousy. They don't know how to manage envy. They don't know how to regulate their sadness. They don't know how to utilize their anguish. They do not know how to take care of their guilt. They do not know how to manage their regret. They do not know how to mitigate fear. They do not know how to channelize happiness. They just do not know how to work with anything that happens inside them. That's why, ladies and gentlemen, emotional development becomes so important. Now, if you look at those pictures, there were some extremely important examples. You know something, ladies and gentlemen, sports was invented as a substitute for war. Sociologically speaking, sports was invented as a substitute for war because, society knew it, that human beings have, for the obvious reasons, they have anger as one of the emotions in the toolkit. So if you see, they know that anger has to come out at some point in time, because if anger would not come out, then the person will have to face the heat inside. Now, violence has to be released systemically, not just systematically, but systemically. And of course, war is one way in which this happens. But you cannot have war without destruction, and it is extremely costly affair. So they invented sports. You give sports and art, one sport and one art, to a kid, and you give them two best friends for a lifetime. Give somebody a basketball and a guitar playing. Give somebody cricket and reading. Give somebody sketching and skating. And believe me, the person will almost never be lonely. Because sports and war, they serve the same purpose. They get the violence out. It's just that in one, you do it systemically. In another, you do it chaotically, or even if systemically, very destructively. Second, social development. I often joke, what is the use of having a topper daughter or a topper son if you come back home और वो आपसे पानी भी ना पूछे? What is the use of that? What is the use of what my grandpa probably taught? When my father would or my mother would be back home, I was asked, or my cousins or siblings were asked, that, oh, pani leke aao papa ke liye. Now, why would that happen? It would happen because everybody knew that right now, of course, hydration, there are three metabolic fuels for brain: hydration, oxygenation, and sugar level. So when hydration will happen, then the person will be in a better emotional state because the person has actually come out, come inside after probably an 8-hour shift or 4-hour shopping or 3-hour working somewhere else, or probably going to some social or religious function or something like that. And second, that socially it will be so beautiful because parent would feel that whatever they are struggling for is worth it because their kid cares for them. Ladies and gentlemen, Such small things. I often joke, forget about customer relationship management, CRM. You can't even manage your relationship with your mamaji. If you do not know how to manage relationship with your padosi, what is the use of learning CRM? If you cannot say, do say, Taiji relationship management or probably Kaka relationship management. So ladies and gentlemen, social development is an integral part of it. Professional development. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a difference between profession and commerce. Almost everybody who talks about religion, who talks about values, who talks about spirituality, in some or other way, probably doesn't like commerce. And I also think that commerce without conscience can be extremely dangerous. But commerce with conscience is profession. Commerce with training, specialization is profession. And ladies and gentlemen, what is the use of education if you cannot prepare somebody for his or her work? If you see those pictures, you must have realized Tark Shakti, logical reasoning, or probably horse riding, or probably Mimansa, Chintan, or probably how to play instruments, or how to work with weapons. All that together prepared Krishna for what was supposed to lay ahead of him. If we know we have a potential manager, potential leader, a potential psychologist, a potential CA, a potential engineer in our classroom, aren't we supposed to connect what we teach to what they'll do? But for that, teacher has to know it first. If you do not have a bird's eye view or a worm's eye view, in fact, both of them, then how will you connect what you teach with how that will be put to use? Ladies and gentlemen, artistic development. As I was talking about sports and art, I, deliberately stopped there when I was talking about art, and I said I'll take it later. If you look at artistic development, you cannot spell heart without art, for the obvious reason that art is almost a therapy for heart. As a psychologist, I know probably one of the best things I've heard is from one of my role models, Dr. Salman Akhtar, who happens to be one of the greatest psychoanalysts of our country, who also happens to be the younger brother of Javed Akhtar Saab. So Dr. Salman Akhtar says something so beautifully. He says, psychotherapy is poetry done by two persons, and poetry is psychotherapy done by a person with himself or herself. So poetry is psychotherapy by one person, and psychotherapy is poetry by two. It's amazing. People don't realize this. But what is journaling? What is, writing? As, Supriti was talking about left brain and right brain. If you look at it, when you write poetry or when you write something, literature, say, any form of literature, then the abstraction of your right brain, the emotional abstraction of your right brain combines with the linguistic capacities of left brain and create a whole brain experience of catharsis. What is going on inside you and cannot be named will come out in the form of words and will be tamed. So ladies and gentlemen, it's very important that you teach people about art, at least motivate them to take up an art, any art. Spiritual development. Now, what is a spiritual development? There's a difference between spirituality and religion. You're doing dhyan, you're doing pranayam, you are doing dhyan and pranayam, it is spirituality. No, it is not spirituality. It is a part of spirituality. Spirituality is deeper. However, even if you, for once, take dhyan and pranayam as a part of spirituality, then you put one photograph there. Any photograph of a guru, you put photograph of any guru, any cult, any sect, any, legacy. The moment you put a photograph there, now it is no more spirituality. Because spirituality and religion are fundamentally different in the sense that spirituality is a direct connection with God without any agency in between. It is your direct connection with God. And I genuinely think that while religion is one of the most important phenomena of our life, spirituality, though not given as much importance, is one of the most impactful phenomena of human life. Not every religious person is spiritual, and not every spiritual person is religious. Both of them are important. However, because of secular approach that most of the democracies follow in classrooms or elsewhere as well, spirituality can always be inculcated, even if probably religion has its limitations to reach anyone in the same form. Here, when I talk about emotional, social, professional, artistic, and spiritual development, another opportunity for me to stop sharing and going back to you, which is that one point line thought example that stayed with you. Anything that you thought or anything that made you think. Please go ahead. Your observations, anyone? Well, this is how I teach. I talk for 20 minutes and then we discuss. And then again, I talk for probably 15 minutes and we discuss. Ideally, in an hour, it's important to take a break after every 10 minutes because attention span is for 10 minutes. So if you prepare a 60-minute session, don't prepare a 60-minute session. Prepare 6 sessions of 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And after 10 minutes, complete one thing, cover it, and then move on. Of course, then only you can probably cover only 3 such 30-minute sessions with 10 minutes of discussions on each. Anyone else, please go ahead.
Yes, anyone, please feel free to unmute yourself and you can share your thoughts and insights on any of the aspects that Sir has talked about so far with respect to holistic development. If there is anything that you would like to share from your own classroom experience, I think that will also be a very good value addition.
That's a wonderful idea, Nitiji. That's a wonderful idea. Anyone?
Yeah, anyone. We are waiting.
What stayed with you, anyone, please?
Okay, I'll start since nobody's talking.
Go.
I think 2 things stayed with me. एक जब सर ने कहा कि what is the use of having a topper, brilliant, academically, academically shining son, daughter, nephew, niece, if they अगर वो आपको पानी भी नहीं पूछ रहे. I think that's very important because currently in our education system, we have overemphasized academic merit. We have overemphasized marks and academic brilliance at the cost of courteous behavior, human values. So I think that's one thing that stayed with me. And मैं अपने घर के बारे में सोच रही थी कि जब मैं छोटी थी तो मेरे घर में मेरे पेरेंट्स ने मुझे बहुत क्लियर इंस्ट्रक्शन दिया था कि if anybody comes as a guest, you do namaste, right? You offer them water, you sit, greet, talk to them. You don't run away in your room or you don't run away to play. Of course, you can go and play with other kids, but you spend some time with the guest. You talk to them and only then you are allowed to go out. Or I remember accompanying my parents to different functions. Both of them are doctors. So sometimes I would be very upset कि क्यों मुझे जाना है हर function में. But today I realized that I had a very good social foundation because of that habit, that
Beautifully put. Beautifully put. I think that's,
because of that
I'm so
particular
glad. Yes.
habit. किसी भी परिस्थिति में you can talk to anybody, you can interact, you are in control of your emotions, you can navigate different situations, different behaviors, because that training really helps.
I'm
So
so
that
glad.
is one thing that stayed with me. Now I think
Yes. Very
others
true,
can
very
also.
Nitiji, I think
Yes.
first of all, I really admire what you said, because it's important to bring into a classroom your own personality. So if at all this is a classroom, I'm so glad that Nidhi came up with something from her set of experiences. Otherwise, what is the use of having 60 kids or 40 kids in a classroom if only one person is supposed to speak? So I am so glad that Nidhi talked about how her upbringing has had an impact on her life. Now over here, I want to talk about something very interesting. Most of the people confuse between having a courteous kid and having a timid kid. Ladies and gentlemen, what is the use of having a kid in house if he or she doesn't question? There's a beautiful, line from a 16th century, if I'm not 16th century poet, Sadi, in Farsi. It is, "Har khas ke shud sahab nazar, dine buzurgan khush nazar." It means any boy or girl of considerable intellect finds it very hard to please his or her elders. Such a beautiful line. So if you see, it is so important for us to, encourage dissent. We are not supposed to encourage, encourage conformity. Your kid should question. If they don't ask question, because what is the root word of question? The root word of question is quest, and quest means desire to know. So it is important for you to not take their questioning as their lack of courtesy, because for eon, this has been a confusion in many people's lives. I'm so glad that we could talk about it. Anyone else, after Nidhi shared a part of her life? Anyone else?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Rajni,
What I
please.
felt, sir, holistic development को classroom में लाने से पहले, it is very much important for a teacher to be holistically developed.
Perfect.
And this is what I got the answer. For a long time, we have been talking about the education system down जा रहा है, students are not educated, properly educated. They are just subject oriented knowledge है उनके पास. But here I felt it means teachers, somewhere teachers, holistic development is also lacking in them.
So
This is
true.
why this is why we talk about students do like this and that and that. I think teachers are also getting, they are not holistically developed. Even I also talk about myself. When we also deal with the challenges, sometimes we also have some lackings in our personality.
Yes. All of us.
Yes. And in emotional development, I have felt that we are not taught to accept the rejections.
Wow.
So that is in emotional development. बच्चे 98% marks आने पर से suicide कर रहे हैं. What is the reason behind all that? First आने की जगह second आके they are committing suicides. In their puberty age, they are having some hormonal confronts as well. So they commit suicides. So that means they are not even able to deal with the challenges. It means the education is not being provided to them rightly. So somewhere
So
we
true.
all are responsible to transmit all this.
I'm so glad, Rajni,
I
you said
felt
it.
so.
And Rajni, when you said it, a point that came in my mind is one of the best sayings I have heard, and I'm sure it is quoted by somebody, and I do not remember his or her name. This is not something that I have said,
Actually.
but please find the quote is: "A teacher never reproduces what he or she knows. A teacher always reproduces who he or she is." So Rajni said it so beautifully that in order to have a holistic development for your students, it is important to first focus on your own holistic development. I'm glad you raised that point. Anyone else before we move towards the last section
Sir, I really appreciated when you said that we should know how to handle rejection. And I want to tell you one very personal example which happened
Please,
with
please.
me last afternoon.
Mhm.
I was dealing with a class of 65 students, and because projector was not working, so I was supposed to give them an exercise because my topic was to teach communication to entrepreneurship student for semester. And I said, okay, we are going to have a game of for 1 minute, and that is going to take time. And students started losing patience. And I was on my top of my volume. I shouted,
Oh.
and in that confrontation, the lunch break was delayed, and they
Mm.
started restless. And my goodness, two students walk out from my
Oh.
class, 115. That was extreme case. And 1:30 ultimately I ended. And okay, attendance done, gone. In evening, I was very disturbed. कि यार, how dare 26 years experience के बाद ये हालत है कि students को हम control ही नहीं कर पा रहे हैं. And I was also bad in my language. Fortunately, when I was taking a lift today in my morning for my department, I got that student, female student, and I said sorry.
Oh.
And she was seeing to me. Like, I'm really sorry, Madhvi. I said this thing because you were creating the nuisance. And when she was shocked, there were 10 other students standing, and I said, I don't know, Madhvi, but this is my basic nature. I'm dealing 250 students in a semester. This is the way I deal with everybody. But now I understood when I'm dealing with 18 years, now I have to be a little empathy. And
Subhati ji, it is
conversation ended.
so wonderful, so wonderful. In fact, it is such a rare and such a refreshing sight to see a teacher introspecting and almost confessing it. Subhati ji, you made day for all of us, and you have encouraged us to introspect in our lives. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I'm so
Thank
glad.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah. Yes,
Good evening,
Abhishek,
sir.
please
Yes,
go ahead.
Abhishek ji, go ahead.
Sir, when I listen to you about emotional development, so
Mhm.
I genuinely thought about emotional regulations are very important nowadays because students are very disturbed by most of the things. Whenever they come to me and ask lots of questions, I talk to them. Then I realize that how much they are concerned, and they are not as we think. They are very sensitive nowadays. They are very. I can say that they are very अ, वो बहुत जागरूक है सर, मतलब हर एक
Mhm.
चीज के लोग को लेके दे हैव लॉट्स ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन, दैट्स व्हाई दे आर वेरी जागरूक इन द वे,
Mhm.
इसलिए वो इतना क्वेश्चन पूछते हैं और वो सब कुछ जानना चाहते हैं.
That
तो
is so very well said, Abhishek ji. In fact, for those who probably did not, understand Hindi part of it, Abhishek ji was so right, so spot on. We said that kids now are more aware, they are more curious, and they are more sensitized. And because of that, as Abhishek ji आपने इतने अच्छे से कहा, क्योंकि वो जागरूक है तो सवाल ज्यादा होंगे.
thank you so much, sir. And this is my question also: how can we regulate emotion, our emotion, and their also?
Abhishek ji, that is, as a psychologist, it's a dream come true that I get to answer such a question. But the problem is that if I'll actually go on that, then it will be a problem. So I'll just, with due respect to your question, I'll just say a few things on that. First,
Thank you so much, sir.
emotional regulation, Abhishek ji, is not a talent; it is a skill. And the only way to develop a skill is repetition. The only way to develop any skill is repetition, or what we call practice. So emotional regulation is, emotional regulation is done by here, it's from here, isn't it? And it is a mental muscle. And if we go to gym, we realize that the only way to develop a muscle is to use it, isn't it? The more you use it, better it gets developed. If you use your emotional regulation more often, you'll realize that you'll get better at emotional regulation. So the only way to do it better is to do it more. And that's why, Abhishek ji, when Suprati ji talked about how she regulated her emotion, and then later on probably talked to that female student, I realized she was actually, in a way, she was lifting a dumbbell. And after that incident, her mental muscle will get developed even more. So Abhishek ji, the only way to develop it is to do it more often. I hope you got that answer.
Thank you so much, sir. Yes, I got the answer. One question my student asked me that, Sir, I am very angry person. How
Hmm.
can I maintain that? Then I answered him that you should not think about the things which are not in your control. You are
Beautiful.
getting angry because you are thinking about those things which are not in your control. So this was my answer, and that's why I was very curious to ask this question, that how to regulate emotions. Thank you so much, sir. This was a
So,
very wonderful session. Thank you.
oh, we still have 15 minutes before you said
No,
it.
I'm not going to leave 1 second and one word of you, but
Thanks.
I'm thanking you.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
Abhishek ji,
Can I interfere in between?
please, Lakshmi, please.
Yeah, actually, I heard or I read somewhere that once a person is going to a guru and asking that, Guru, I have lot of anger. How can I reduce this? Then he told that it is not that easy for you to reduce just like that. You do one thing, take a big board, uh, and when you are getting so anger, you put a nail on that.
Yes. I also
Then
heard that.
you
Please
come
complete. It's beautiful.
afterwards, after 1 week, you come and meet me. Then he came after 1 week. When he came, so many nails are there on a big board. Then he sent him back and told him that you come next week. When he came next week, a little bit it was less compared to the previous week. After 4 or 5 weeks, he told that now I'm fine. I'm very rarely getting this anger. Then he told this is not the end of that. Now, whenever you are not getting angry and you feel that I want to I may become angry, then you can remove one nail. Like that, you have to do. So he started doing like that. After some time, he went to that guru and showed this board, and he told that, see, Guru, I have removed all these nails. Then he told that, now you see how much damage happened to that
So
board. Already, if you are getting angry, the damage, how much you are making yourself is so much that even if you are not getting angry later, the damage would have already done. So, what I feel is we have to give this kind of knowledge from the beginning when they are very small. Then I think we can manage all these things in their life. As Sir was saying, this is a skill. We have to teach them regularly. We have to say them regularly, and we have to tell them some of the stories. That is what I learned from my grandmother and all. I'm from Kerala, and we have Bhagavatam. She will be reading regularly Bhagavatam and explaining all these things. So
beautiful.
many things I will be relating with Bhagavatam, where so many things are saying. For example, this socialization. Here now we can see that many IIM students, IIT students, they are all suiciding. I mean, they are all having that temptation for that. We are seeing that. But why it is happening even after their education, and they have many things compared to many other people, but then also they are not having that satisfaction in their life. But once if they go to the society, if they try to help those who are having so many problems, I think, I mean, as per all those things, whatever I learned from there, that they will understand that my problems are nothing in front of the others.
That is so
And
good.
if we
That is
do
so good.
something for others, I feel that our problems will reduce, and that can be resolved.
In fact, Lakshmi
These
ji,
are the basic things we have to teach them.
yes, and I'm so glad that you talked about importance of storytelling. and importance of storytelling, not just in the sense of telling stories from our lives or from lives of great gods, avatars, or from all religions, but also telling stories which are typically moral stories, Panchatantra. I mean, just imagine if any developmental procedure or process is aided by studying Panchatantra, you will find in India, most of the kids, while growing up, will learn most of the important behavioral skills. Such a beautiful set of stories. So I'm so glad you talked about stories. At the same time, I'm so glad you talked about, what we in psychology call a reappraisal. If you appraise your own behavior, it is so important that you appraise your own behavior, and then you realize how much you have probably damaged something. Lalita, you are saying something?
Yeah, I think Lalita ji was trying to speak.
Yes, Lalita, please go ahead. Okay. I think
Maybe she got unmuted.
Okay.
So there is already a request for one more session with you.
Oh, that's
आप
so
chat
nice.
box नहीं देख रहे हैं, but मैं chat box देख रही हूँ, sir.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Nice. So, this is so good that all of you are participating. Probably Lalita ji is not around right now, so I'll complete what part of the slide still remains to be completed, and then of course we go to our last 5-minute discussion. Now, if you look at the development, then you would realize that. Can you see this slide now?
No, sir.
See it now?
Yeah. Now we can see.
So the other part that probably was covered in Vidyayani was intellectual development. Ladies and gentlemen, it's important to understand that intellectual development is a process. It is not an event. It takes its own due course of time. And if you look at probably all the IIMs or big B schools, of course they follow the case method from Harvard School of Thought, and that case method is all about intellectual development. You get into situation, simulations, and then you try to put yourself in the shoes of a protagonist and then decide what needs to be done on the basis of a thorough analysis and inferential process of deliberation. So intellectual development is extremely important. And that's why it is important for every teacher to make students think about something. Not just teach them, but help them think about something. Ladies and gentlemen, over here, I also need to talk about importance of reading. I genuinely think that the best gift you can give to anybody is habit of reading. Why? Because I always say to people, the kind of people you meet, the kind of books you read, the kind of thoughts you listen to, and the kind of company you keep decide the kind of person you become. आप जिस तरह के लोगों से मिलते हैं, जिस तरह की किताबें पढ़ते हैं, जिस तरह के विचार सुनते हैं और जिस तरह के दोस्त चुनते हैं, वो तय करता है कि आप किस तरह के शख्स बनते हैं. And that's why it's extremely important that you let them read, because reading combines almost all four. Reading a good book is actually meeting a lot of people, listening to a lot of ideas, and befriending somebody for a lifetime. I genuinely recommend that, if I could, every school or college should make spending time in library and reading for 1 hour mandatory. But of course, that is not possible because of the infrastructure and of course the number of students we have. Whatever works, it's important that you give them more incentives and lot of motivation to read. Intellectual development is one. Banasthali is trying to rekindle the concept of Shastrarth. I think if I'm not wrong, later in this month, on one of the days, there is a Shastrarth. Dr. Ankur Joshi was kind enough to invite me for that, but unfortunately I'm not able to attend. But just to talk about importance of Shastra that a few years back, Panasthali tried to rekindle. If you want to see, you can actually go to YouTube videos and find one of the I think 2 of Shastrarts hosted at Panasthali, and I was a part of both of them. So I'll be happy if you could just go through the whole process of Shastrarts, which was an important tool for intellectual development according to Indian knowledge systems. Now, behavioral development. There was a very important slide there. The slide said, कैसे अपनी बात को अलग शब्दों में कहना. What a beautiful line. I love one of the couplets, if I'm not wrong, from Wasim Barelvi Saab. The couplet is one of my favorites. The couplet is, कौन सी बात कब कहां तक कही जाती है, ये सलीका हो तो हर बात सुनी जाती है. I'll repeat. कौन सी बात, content, कब, timing, कहां तक, extent. कौन सी बात कब कहां तक कही जाती है, ये सलीका हो तो हर बात सुनी जाती है. Ladies and gentlemen, most of us do not really role model the behavioral, qualities that we would want to inculcate in our kids. Just in the name of affection, we cannot shout at somebody and say, Dinesh, Mahesh, Pushpak, khade ho jao. I genuinely think that every person has basic right of dignity, respect. And in psychology, the meaning of ego, of course, now I'm not talking about ego from the psychodynamic theory of id, ego, superego. I'm talking about ego, the term used in laymanish terms. The concept of ego in layman terms, according to psychology, is how soon and how easily do you get hurt. If a teacher has a big, hairy, swollen ego, where he or she can get hurt very quickly, very easily, then what is the use of being a teacher? AI, artificial intelligence, can only replace a teacher if a teacher doesn't have EI, emotional intelligence. So, ladies and gentlemen, behavioral development is crucial. Then comes logical thinking. I have always believed that for some reasons, we have started discounting science, while Indian knowledge systems beautifully interweaves Vigyan and Dharma. They are not against each other. There's a beautiful saying, often the opposite of one great truth is another great truth. For centuries, religion and science have coexisted. It's only to a formative, undeveloped brain, one of them becomes more important than other. To any mature brain, those two ideas, great grand narratives of human life, can coexist. It is important to be scientific in approach. And what is the definition of science? Definition of science is the systematic study of knowledge based on empiricism, experimentation, and methodological naturalism. So empiricism, experimentation, methodological naturalism, science shakki hai. Science questions, and it is extremely important to be logical when you question. Moral development. I'm not talking about ethical development. I'm talking about moral development, because there's a difference between ethics and morality. Morality applies to every human being independent of caste, religion, nationality. Ethics can vary according to the societies we live in or societies we come from. So ethics can change, but morals will remain same. And that's why we have moral stories in all religions. It is important to help them understand those moral principles. And last but not the least, physical development. We are not limited by what we do. We are also limited by the amount of time we'll have on this planet called Earth. Ladies and gentlemen, none of us can compete with three things: Bimari, Hadisa, and Mrityu. But apart from Bimari, Hadisa, and Mrityu, if we can experience health and hope that none of these three will probably intervene in our plan for our life, then it becomes extremely important to not just live longer, but live healthy. Well, we cannot really choose what happens to us, but we can always choose what we do about it. So, ladies and gentlemen, those inert so-called couch potatoes that are coming in every new generation now, they're happening not by some default. They are happening not by some design. They are happening by a deficit that we as parents, we as teachers have not filled. And the deficit is importance of physical development. In other words, I'm talking about these two: soft skills and life skills. So, ladies and gentlemen, if we can have soft skills and life skills interwoven in our pedagogy, our methodology, not necessarily in our curriculum or our syllabus, because pedagogy and methodology is in teachers' hands. Probably syllabus and curriculum still stays in administrators or in the policymakers' hands. So let's bring more soft skills and life skills in pedagogy and methodology. Well, this is what Sarvangin Vikas looks like from what Sandipani and Krishna together created for all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, this is thank you slide from my side. But before we end, last 2 minutes on your deliberation. What is that one line point thought example that you have got from this section? Anyone?
Yes, sir. There is a question from Tangu Turuji.
Okay.
It would be nice if you can unmute yourself and
Me?
ask
Oh,
your
yeah.
question.
Okay. Yeah. Please go ahead. Please ask question. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no, he's posted it in the chat box. It's an interesting, important question according to me, but I'd request him to please unmute whenever you can. And Pallavi ji has raised her hand. So yes, Pallavi ji, please go ahead.
Hello, Pallavi. I'm
Namaste,
so
sir.
glad. Yes, Bilkul. Dr. Pallavi Joshi. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I have a question.
Please.
Sir, what if a person has not gone through this holistic model in their childhood and now they understand that there is a scope for improvement and they should improve? So what will be your suggestion now, sir, how to improve oneself now when you're not in growing age?
That's such an
At
question.
what aspect can we start now?
Yes, that's such an important question, Dr. Pallavi Joshi. Now, we need to understand that it's one of my favorite lines that you cannot go back and make a fresh beginning, but you can start from here and create a fresh end. So,
Yes.
you know, Dr. Pallavi, the point here is that just the way you so aptly put that now if I have realized, or now if anybody has realized that that deficit has happened, then how to go ahead from here? The most important thing for me here would be to choose a role model. Because, you know, when you choose a role model, imitation, emulation is one of the basic ways in which human beings learn. If you see, they actually say this, you know, baap pe beta, ghode pe ghoda, bahut nahi to thoda thoda. You know, how does it happen? It happens because, as they call it, ghutna pet ki taraf hi mudta hai. So it is about not just parents, it is about the lineage you're a part of. So Dr. Pallavi Joshi, my point would be, choose any role model and start almost copying him or her. After some time, you'll realize that a part of you has started behaving like him or her. And because of that almost biofeedback that you may call, your thought process will also change. And after some time, because of our own ego functioning well, now here ego of psychodynamic theory, when ego will actually function well, after some time, the protege will branch out away from the mentor. But it is important to first emulate, imitate, copy, and then you'll discover your own style. This is the easiest way to start if we are starting late. Okay, Pallavi?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay.
Thank you, Pallavi ji. Great question and apt response by Dr. Sandeep, sir. Yeah. Anybody else? We have time for 2 more questions. So if anybody
Please go
wants to ask their question, please go
Ask
ahead.
your questions, give any remarks. We'll be very
Yeah,
happy.
yeah. Most
And any value.
welcome. Anybody? Can I see? Okay, just a moment. I was just trying to
Good
locate.
evening, sir.
Yeah. Go ahead, Tangu Turuji.
Sirisha, ma'am, Dr.
Sirisha.
Sirisha,
Okay.
from
Sorry,
Mahila
Sirisha
University,
ji.
Tirupati, sir.
Yes,
Sir, actually, my question is how to develop holistic development among would-be teachers. Because the students who we are getting in universities are from rural background.
Mhm.
And you said that through activities, involvement, experiential learning, we can bring a change so that they can practice and gain the holistic development.
Mhm.
But here, the students who have completed already graduation, but they are very introvert. Then how to develop these students, because they are going to go, teach in the schools. So if they are holistically developed, they will use that knowledge or experience in the schools to change the students. So nowadays, though they have many gadgets, many the digital mode of learning and all, but our students who are going to teach are lacking behind. So how can we improve them or change their attitude towards these things, sir?
Great. Sirisha ji, it's such a pertinent question. The best part of coming from rural background, in fact, with due respect to what you said, I have always had a problem with rural and urban divide. The problem is pretty simple.
Yes.
That when we say rural, we almost discount the importance of native indigenous value creation that has happened in the untouched part of geography. I have realized, Sirisha ji, that these people from untouched part of society or less exposed part of the geography of any landscape, whether it is nation or whether it is a city or a state, these people have such rich culture of poetry, of literature, which is native and indigenous and which is related to their own bolis, not even bhashas, their own bolis,
Yes, sir.
their
Yes,
own
sir.
dialects. Sirisha ji, it is full of wisdom and applicable intelligence on soft skills and life skills. Sirisha ji, my request is to help them reconnect to their roots in a newer way.
Sure,
To come up with those, just imagine how beautifully Harivansh Rai Bachchan Sahab says, a concept, जीवन की आपाधापी में कब वक्त मिला, कुछ देर कहीं पर बैठ कभी मैं सोच सकूं, जो किया कहाँ माना उसमें क्या बुरा भला. Now look at how beautifully this thing is put. So those who are from Hindi can actually learn it from Hindi. Those who are from other languages, other bolis, they can reconnect to their own literature, their own poetry. If they can do that, Sirisha ji, believe me, you'll have the same impact just through different routes. Okay?
Yes. Okay, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
So much.
Thank you so much, Sirisha ji. That was a very important question. And just to add a little bit of
No,
perspective.
I'll just give an example of it. I'm so sorry, I'm a little late on that, Sirisha ji.
No,
But as you know, I come from a part of the country which is called Nimad, and we speak a boli called Nimadi, And Sirisha ji, there are such beautiful lines. Nano bhanyo par gunyo nahi. Now, what does it mean? Nano bhanyo par gunyo nahi. That means that the boy, or in fact girl also, the boy studied a lot but never internalized anything. Such a beautiful line.
Yes.
So if you go back to your own roots, you realize there is so much to learn, so much to understand. Okay, Nidhi ji, over to you.
yeah, I was just trying to add to what Sirisha ji was saying, because I thought her question was very important. And in my experience, I have always had a very pleasant encounter with students from the rural or regional language background. For example, I always felt that students who studied in the Gujarati medium school, because that is where I'm located in Gujarat, they would be initially very hesitant, underconfident, but once as a teacher I handholded them, I think they sometimes exhibited better competencies and better skills than
Yes,
those
yes.
who were only groomed in the English language. Nothing against the English language or nothing against English education, so to say. And I think anybody who is civilizationally competent and culturally rooted will always come out as a more confident individual. So I
Beautifully
believe that
Beautifully.
somebody from the regional language or the rural or the native or the indigenous background, as sir has rightly said, they have this innate confidence and strength. It just needs to be channelized right in the right way in the classroom.
This is so beautifully said, Nidhi ji, because more often than not, people confuse Indian knowledge systems as something written in Sanskrit. No, it is not just Sanskrit. It is Hindi, it is Tamil, it is Telugu, it is Gujarati, it is Marathi, it is Bengali. I mean, if all that source of pearls of wisdom will not be incorporated, I mean, Sanskrit is not Indian. Indian is Sanskrit. Sanskrit is Indian. No, Indian is Sanskrit plus all that we have evolved into.
Absolutely. And if we look at the IKS corpus, there is so much to explore in terms of regional language literature as well as oral literature. And we spoke of storytelling in the session. Somebody gave examples of stories. I think Lakshmi ji gave examples of stories that her grandparents used to narrate. So I always feel that if you have, and I think there are examples from other parts of Asia like Japan, China, where education in the mother language is encouraged. And if you like, I travel a lot and I see a lot of Chinese people when they travel in big groups because they are community oriented, but they're so confident about who they are.
So yes,
yeah, they don't know English, but they are still able to navigate well. They don't have any sense of inferiority of not knowing English. So I think taking our students closer to where they come from and then using innovative techniques to channelize what they already bring
that
to the
is
fore.
so beautifully put, Nidhi ji, because if I could put what Nidhi ji said in my words, it would be that holistic development is not about making you like someone else. It is about making you more of who you already are.
Yeah, true. I think power statement from the session. For me, that's the power statement and the biggest takeaway from this.
One more thing I want to add in this, sir. Knowledge is about making students make themselves and make them free and develop their own consciousness.
Yes.
So this is what I have learned through this particular session. So I want to add this.
Thank you so much, Abhishek ji.
Yeah.
Well, I
Wonderfully
think on
said,
that
Abhishek.
note, Nidhi ji, we have. I wouldn't want it to overstay, my stay. So
Yes.
I think before they start believing when will we leave, So,
No, sir. I'm sure they won't because there are already requests for another session by you.
wow.
So ऐसा तो
Awesome.
नहीं ही है.
Thank you.
But yeah,
Thank
now we come to the close of this session, and I'm sure that all of you have so many questions inside of you after this session, and I wish we had more time to speak to Dr. Sandeep sir, but maybe on some other occasion on our platform, we would be most happy, delighted, and honored to invite him to
Absolutely.
speak on
Beautiful.
related aspects of Indian knowledge system, or also on his experience in psychology and emotional intelligence and counseling.
I'll be
So
extremely
thank
glad to add value. Thank you so
yeah,
much, Nidhi
yeah.
ji. Thank you so much, brother.
And I'm so glad that through Dr. Ankur Joshi sir, we are now connected.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and sir, if anybody wants to contact you, if you would like to share your email address, you
well,
can. But
Nidhi
that's
ji,
okay.
I am available on all social media platforms: Instagram,
Okay.
LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. You can watch my videos. So Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. If you want to connect me, with me through them, I'll always be there. I'm on
Great.
all social media platforms. 10 minutes in morning and 10 minutes in evening, never randomly. So because I genuinely believe, Nidhi ji, that the most important part of holistic development is time for everything, everything on time, place
Time.
for everything, everything in its place.
That's great. Perfect. So you heard it right from sir that if you want to connect to him, go to Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and subscribe to his YouTube channel. So many thanks, sir. Participants in the chat box are profusely thanking you for such an eye-opening session, and our team also conveys heartfelt thanks and gratitude for you to because you accepted our invitation and agreed to be on board. And we wish you the best. Ankur Joshi sir is also here. I'd requested him
Thank
to.
you, Dr. Ankur Joshi. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
And we hope to stay connected.
Sure.
Namaste. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining today's session in good numbers, being interactive and participative. And tomorrow is going to be the last session of the first week. So just letting you all know that we don't have sessions on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday. We have sessions from Monday to Friday. So tomorrow, Dr. Eros Vaja will be with us. So please join the session on time, 6:30 p.m. Thank you. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. Namaste. Good night.